Yeah, so I just wanted to make a quick little video on how to be a good friend to someone with BPD. I think this is a topic that has come up quite a lot in the comments section in terms of you guys asking for this. So I'm just going to dive straight into it. I'm on my favourite website, Very Well Mind. Feel free to read along with me. A friendship with someone who has borderline personality disorder is not always easy, and I'm sure you guys know that. There may be times when your friend feels totally hopeless or out of control, causing you to feel helpless as well. While there is no cure for BPD, with the right treatment and support, people with BPD can get better. Here are some general principles you can follow to be a good friend to someone with BPD. Educate yourself about borderline personality disorder. 100% if you have a friend with BPD, you have to know what the disorder contains. You have to know what this person who has BPD is capable of and what their mind goes through on a daily basis. If you have a friend with BPD, it is critically important to educate yourself about the disorder. The disorder is characterised by unstable moods and emotions, which affects relationships and behaviours. As a result, friendships with people with BPD can be rocky. Sometimes people with BPD engage in behaviours that can seem manipulative, mean-spirited, or destructive. A deep understanding of the disorder can help recognise these behaviours for what they are: symptoms. Understanding that these behaviours are not intended to harm you may help you build more empathy for your friends so you can better support them. So let's just go back to those three key words: manipulative, mean-spirited, or destructive. What's interesting about that is a lot of the time it's actually the person with BPD who is doing these destructive or manipulative behaviours to almost punish themselves because they know what the outcome is going to be, but they feel they should be punished because of how they feel. So when you are not feeling, you as the person, when you are not feeling great, you will outwardly go and try and make yourself feel worse. It's like listening to a sad song when you're sad to try and make yourself more sad. That's kind of the spirit of BPD, when you really get sucked into these intense and quite vicious emotions that are sort of boiling inside of you. All you want to do is further them because you feel like you deserve it, which comes back to shame and all of that type of stuff. I'll just leave it at that, but it's just a little bit of food for thought. Support their efforts to get professional help. Now, before I go into this, I just want to say, speaking for myself, first and foremost, I don't know if you guys feel the same, but a lot of the time, I don't feel like I have a mental illness. I don't like being told that I'm ill. And yes, I have these ups and downs where, yes, my emotions can get very, very intense, but that is who I am. And I never want to change that about myself. So when people are saying to me, no, Reece, you're sick, you're ill, you need to go and see help, you need to go to a psychologist and get help. For some reason, and I know that it's coming from a good place within their heart and they're trying to help me, but for some reason I take that offensively. And I don't know if you guys feel the same way. Please let me know down in the comments if you do. But just remember that if someone's asking you to go get help, it's not because they think any less of you. It's because they want you to be better. They want you to be happier. They are doing that with their best intentions in their heart. They're trying to make you be the best version of yourself when you can't necessarily see that you're veering away from that person. It's rarely productive to try and force someone to get professional help, no matter how badly they need it, unless, of course, it's an emergency situation. You can, however, support your friend when they decide to get help. Again, when they decide to get help. It's very different from you saying, get help. They need to make the decision of, okay, I accept that I have something that might not be 100% right within me at the moment. I need to go and get help. That's the only time when someone with borderline personality disorder will go to a psychotherapist and will actually absorb the information that they give to you and then move forward from that. Without that want and need for the help in the first place, it will be rejected. This may mean telling your friend that you are proud of them for asking for help, or that you think seeking help is a courageous choice, which it is. You know, being brave enough to say, no, I'm ill, I'm not feeling like myself, being able to be vulnerable in that state and then move forward from that. It's very courageous. Or it may mean offering rides to appointments or making an effort to visit if they are in hospital. Whatever you do, it will mean a lot to your friend to know that you are behind them. And that is so true. Having people supporting you and loving you and pushing you and guiding you along your sort of path of this mental illness can really be the make or break between going upwards or spiraling downwards. In fact, people with BPD who have support and stability in their personal life often see improvement in their symptoms sooner than those who lack support. So again, just for you guys who are watching who don't have BPD and who know someone who has BPD and you're working with them, giving them the emotional support that they need and almost gently pushing them and guiding them through their journey of healing is so beneficial, and it can, like I say, it can make or break anything that sort of gets thrown their way. Here's another key point. Validate your friend's experiences. The most important thing you can do to help a friend with BPD is to just listen and validate their feelings. Understand that strong emotional reactions are part of the disorder. That's just who we are. You may not necessarily agree with their evaluation of a situation or feel that the intensity of their feelings is justified, but you can still listen and acknowledge the difficulty of feelings that they are experiencing. People with BPD and people without BPD experience feelings in very, very different ways. So when someone as an outsider can't understand how I'm feeling, it makes me feel more alone. Not through any fault of their own, but as a repercussion of not having that understanding. For someone to sit there and say, no, I understand, you're not crazy. You know, you're not too different. I can relate to these feelings, although I don't feel them, I can relate to them. It makes such a huge difference because it feels like, okay, well now I'm not in this on my own, so maybe I'm able to tackle it a little bit better. In fact, receiving validation from another person can provide tremendous relief to someone with BPD. 100%. I absolutely believe in that. Many people with BPD grew up in emotionally invalidating environments and expect that no one will care how they feel. Because of the nature of the disorder, even those who didn't experience a problematic environment growing up have grown accustomed to people telling them that they are overreacting. I'm not overreacting. You're not overreacting. That's just how we're built. We're just different. I'm fine with that. I hope you're fine with it. And if you're someone who knows someone with BPD, please learn to accept those differences, because that's what makes humanity beautiful. As a result, having someone actually care about how they feel can be very powerful. Incredibly true. Don't ignore the threats of self-harm. Suicidal threats and gestures are common in people with BPD. Some people with BPD will make multiple suicidal threats, which can lead their family and friends to become desensitized to this kind of behaviour. Almost like the boy who cried wolf, but be careful because the wolf bites. But even if your friend has made suicidal threats in the past without actually attempting suicide, know that people with BPD are at very high risk of attempting and completing suicide. Research has found that 75% of those with BPD will attempt suicide at least once during their lifetime. I can put my hand up and say I'm part of that 75%. Studies have shown that between 3% and 10% of people with BPD die by suicide. That's a huge number. Between 3 and 10% of people living with BPD kill themselves. For this reason, even if you don't think they'll actually do it, never ignore the threat of suicide. Learning the possible signs that your friend is contemplating suicide, and call emergency personnel such as 999, 911, whatever it may be in your country, Anytime you believe there is an imminent risk of your friend. Do you know what? I can't read that. I'm going to put it up on the screen. You guys can read that. Basically what it's trying to say is if you think that anybody is going to commit suicide, if they're talking about it, even if the way that they're speaking is becoming very negative and there is a potential and it's a very, very small potential, action has to be taken, whether that be talking to the person with BPD, or if that's not getting through, talking to emergency hotlines, and if that's not getting through, friends, family, loved ones, and if that's not getting through, trying everything that you can. But trying is so much more valuable than giving up, because if you give up on them, they give up on themselves. Take care of yourself too. Now this is for you guys with the BPD friends that are very intense. You can't quite figure out if you need to be there for them or you need to be there for yourself or whatever it may be, but looking after yourself is essentially looking after them. You are only ever the best version of yourself and can give that best version of yourself to other people when you look after yourself. Sometimes friendships with people who have BPD become unbalanced and you may find yourself giving more than you receive. If this happens only occasionally, it's usually fine. Most relationships ebb and flow. They can't always be a 50-50 split. But if you find yourself in a perpetually unbalanced and difficult situation, it will create strain in a relationship. Research has shown that friends and family that care for people with BPD have high rates of hostility, anxiety, depression, and distrust. Financial strain, marital problems, and social embarrassment are also common family responses. If you give too much, you may start to feel resentful or burnt out. After a while, you may get to the point where you feel the need to end your relationship for your own health and happiness. In the long term, however, it is more helpful for a person with BPD to have a consistent, reliable friend, to have a friend who's 100% there for them for a few months before disappearing forever. For this reason, it is important for you to take care of yourself. Take breaks from your friend when needed and create healthy boundaries so that you get your needs fulfilled too, which is very, very important. Don't let your life revolve around someone else, and however much us people with BPD feel abandonment issues and things like that, that is not your responsibility. It's ours. It's part of us, not part of you. Do not feel pressured like you have to be doing things for us when that's not what you want to do. That's not the solution. The solution may be potentially going the extra mile every now and again, and again it comes back to that understanding of why we are how we are. And if you can understand that, and you can see these things that are part of BPD when they happen, and you notice that they're part of a disorder, not a part of the person and how they want to think, hopefully then these friendships can stay long, healthy and happy. All of this is easier said than done. It requires assertive communication skills and sufficient self-awareness to understand when it is time to pull back a bit. However, it is possible to have a long-term, rewarding friendship with someone with BPD if you work at it. And that is so true. I tell you what, my closest friend, my best friend in the entire world, his name is Woodsy. I have known him since I was about 5 years old. And I can admit that I haven't always been the nicest person in the past. I've made a lot of mistakes, but he's been patient with me and he's stuck through it with me. And because of that, our friendship now is stronger than ever. We're able to communicate now. He's able to see where I'm having issues with my BPD, and he's able to navigate through them. And because of that, because of his patience and understanding and his willingness to learn about my condition, our friendship has stayed happy and healthy. And like I said, that's through all the negative sides. And not only have I now got this friend in Woodsy, which I have done, like I said, since I was 6, but I've got other friends that are not the same as him, but have that same understanding quality of sometimes that I'm not myself every day. You know, there's going to be off days, and these people that I've surrounded myself with have learned to deal with my off days, and have found a way to help me cope through them. And not only that, have helped to cope through them themselves. I'm very grateful for all of the people that I have around me, because they have actually helped me become the person that I am today, which slowly and steadily I'm becoming the person that I want to be. A happier, healthier, better version of myself, where I feel fulfilled rather than ashamed of myself. You know, I'm filled with joy rather than anger. I want to smile other than cry. And it's because of this. And not only that, it's the understanding of BPD now that I have. I've looked so much into my disorder so I can grasp what is real and what is not real. What I'm making up in my own brain and what is facting in front of me. For all of you that have friends with BPD, please be kind and caring and gentle and sensitive, and be willing to be vulnerable, because there's so much vulnerability that is hidden behind these hard shells, and there's so much more behind the anger and the tears and the frustration and the sadness. But there's also love and happiness and joy and all of these wonderful emotions that, again, because of our condition, we get to feel so full. We get to experience the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. And unfortunately, where BPD has been stigmatised, the lowest of the lows seems to dictate how society sees BPD. Whereas that shouldn't be the case, because we can be some of the most amazing people when we put our minds to it, and when we fight our own demons, and when we get through to the other side, which I can tell any one of you is possible. So if you have a friend with BPD, do your best to appreciate them and try and look through their disorder, understand it, empathise with it if you can. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy, but because I have it, I learn to live with it and love it. And you should too. Lots of love. Have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next.